Welcome to the Winning Edge podcast, where we share focus, fueling, and faith-filled stories and strategies to give young athletes the tools they need to become the best version of themselves as athletes and individuals.
What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or fitness enthusiast looking to gain that mental edge and optimize your health, this podcast is for you. We are your hosts. I'm Lindsay, former collegiate athlete, coach, educator, and educational coach for over 20 years, and a mom to two young athletes.
And I'm Stacy, registered dietitian nutritionist of over 18 years and also a mom of two young athletes.
So today we're going to talk about why athletes are natural leaders and leaders on the field, whether they truly want to be or not, and how they're seen as leaders, not just on the field, but in the classroom and in other areas of life, just because of their sports experience. And I do have to say that this is a double-edged sword.
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's a lot of pressure that they have to model and exemplify not only great athletic performance, but also that they have to model the right behavior in all different settings, and they're just held to a higher standard, whether that's by teachers, parents, coaches, faith leaders. They're seen and they're in everybody's field of vision a lot more often. And so they are held to a higher standard. And I think that it's important that as parents and coaches, we're helping them to develop the mental and emotional skills to not only handle that pressure, but to understand what it truly means to be a leader and how to use that to benefit their team and those around them. That will be a skill that they'll use the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I love this topic because I think about the book by Mark Sanborn, which is You Don't Have to Have a Title to Be a Leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about really what you're saying for all of our young athletes, for our parents who are listening as they think about their young athletes, is that they're a leader whether they realize it or not. They're a leader through recognizing and embracing moments they have,
Mm-hmm.
no matter where they are on the field or even off the field, on the side of the court or in the dugout or whatever that looks like. And just really thinking about there's opportunities that exist every day that our kiddos have, that we have as adults, to take initiative and make a positive difference, which is really what we're going to talk about today, is what being a leader is.
Yeah. So why does leadership matter for athletes? And so a lot of times there's kids that they're really, they're strong in a sport, they're on a team, and they don't necessarily want to be a leader. That's not like their MO for being an athlete, right? You play a sport because you love that sport. You're passionate about it. Maybe you want to play at a higher level of play someday, whether that's professionally or collegiate, wherever. So you're not like, oh, I'm going to go into sports so I can be a leader. That's not why. Or like, so I can develop these tools for my adult life. No, you're 11, you're 14, you want to go there because you want to play. You love it. But why does leadership actually matter for athletes? And it's because leadership influences team performance.
Yeah.
So, whether you're the quiet leader or you're the very vocal leader on a team, your team benefits from that, no matter the type of leader you are. It boosts confidence, team identification, and the overall motivational climate of the team. And then strong athlete leadership, it leads to greater team commitment and a sense of purpose. So when you look at the best and most successful teams, they are filled with leaders individually who have one goal and they're all pushing towards it. And some of those leadership skills might be someone's a leader in practice, someone's a leader in the intense moments of the games, right? So there's different times where those strengths come out. But I think the important thing for us to remember for our own kids and for other kids on team as well is that leadership, everyone is a potential leader. Like you were saying, everyone has that opportunity to become a leader, not just a team captain, even though that's who usually gets noticed. Like, oh, who's the leader? Oh, they're the team captain, right? They're the loud one. But literally every player. And those leadership skills, as they develop, it's going to make an impact on not just the one athlete, but the overall team success.
Well, and you say the loud one, but I sometimes think, and I will say this as an And we've, it's funny because we've talked about this before, how like
Mhm.
we call our oldest, leader Luke, and we call the
Mhm.
younger one courageous Clay. And like we give them names that like have a meaning to them to
Yeah.
have them step into kind of some of what their personalities are. But I think about this and I think about some of the best leaders I've had in my career and throughout my life have
Mhm.
not always been the loud one. They've been
Absolutely.
the one who is reflecting more, the one
Mhm.
who sees everyone else, like the one
Yeah.
who has the ability to almost be a servant and
Mhm.
consider others before they consider themselves. And I think those are some of the best
Yeah.
leaders sometimes, but they're not what the
Absolutely.
world would think of
No,
as
because
like leaders.
people think like, oh, the type A personality is going to be the leader. And that's not really how it works in sports. Sometimes you do, right? Like you've got to have that one leader who pumps everyone up and handles the load. But a lot of times your leaders are quiet. They're the quiet leaders. And sometimes it's passive leadership, right? Like active leadership, you want to do that. A quiet leader might be more of a passive leader where they're not like, I want to be the leader on the team. It just happens organically because of who they are, their work ethic, their drive. Maybe they're the one that is strong in their faith and they're a leader on the team in that way. So I think that, it's really good point to bring up that you're not a type A personality.
Yeah.
And
Well, you could have all kinds of
yeah, like
leaders.
you don't
And
have to be the
to
same.
your
It's not a
point,
cookie cutter.
yeah, well, to your point, you need different types of leaders. So
Hmm.
you might need someone who is the spiritual leader of the team, who's like wrangling everyone so they can like
Yeah.
come together and say prayer and really be reflective before the
Hmm.
game starts. You might need someone who's the hype leader and they're
Right,
like
right.
getting everybody, ramped up and keeping everybody up. I
Mhm.
think about always the image where the gentleman's walking in the court and his friend like picks his chin up for him. Like
Yeah,
you need kind of that type of leader. But then sometimes you need the leader who's just like in their actions and their work ethic. And so I
yeah.
think this is a really good call out for also parents listening and for kiddos listening. Like if you don't feel like you fit into one type of
Mhm.
mold, that's okay.
Yeah,
Leaders come in all shapes
all
and sizes.
kinds. And it's stop putting yourselves in molds, right? Like, I hate when kids think, "Well, I'm not like so and so." Good.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be
God made
like,
you that
you're your
way.
own person. So, like, you can do this too. You don't have to fit into a certain bubble or stereotype. Like, break that. Like, you're who you are. You're here for a reason. Own your identity, be proud of who you are, and like run with it, flourish. Everyone on the team is important and has a role. Um, and so sometimes people are like, well, I don't, why am I a leader? I actually was working with one of my athletes when I coached basketball in East Texas, and she was a leader. She did not want to be a leader. Oh man, she did not. She wanted to be like quiet, didn't like people. She's still like that as an adult.
Well, and
Um,
not didn't like people. She probably just was like,
no, she
didn't want
doesn't
people
like
looking
no,
at
no, no,
her.
no.
She wanted to be like a
She's like,
wallflower.
"Don't talk to me." Okay? So she was that athlete who like didn't want any like just leave me
Attention.
alone, just let me do my thing. But because of her work ethic and how good she was a leader. And she was like, "Well, I don't want to be one." And I was like, "Well, it doesn't matter. You are one." Um, because athletes, they're visible and they set an example, right? Whether you perform well or you just draw attention because of your work ethic, you are looked up to by others. It could be much younger kids, it could be athletes on your team, but you're looked up to, and your behavior is seen as something that's motivational for others. Um, Another reason why athletes are leaders is because of the team environment. It's very collaborative. They're always working together. And so you have that in high intensity situations. It's like a ripple effect with how you're working and the tone you set, and then it builds the rest of the team. Um, Usually, leaders take accountability and are responsible. They have a understanding of skill development, like even though it's not practice, it's off season, whatever, you're busting your butt, you're working on what you need to become a better athlete, and that's transferable, and other athletes see that and they look up to it and admire it. Um so yeah, it's athletes as leaders, it's just prepping them for their life beyond sports. Like everything that they're doing now as an athlete is transferable for their adult life, whether that's, in a workspace, in a family dynamic, it doesn't matter. It's all transferable skills.
Yeah, and I think one of the things as I'm listening and I'm kind of thinking about just like even the biblical principles that we
Hmm.
talk about with span is just this idea that like individually, every player that's out on the field is a leader and role model in some type of way,
Hmm.
even the athlete that you talked about not wanting to. But I
Yeah.
also just kind of want to throw this out there because I think for those that are listening that are thinking about this space is like you also need followers. And
Yeah.
I think that it's a powerful thing sometimes. And I think for us to think about like your role individually as a person to be a leader to those
Mhm.
around you, to those looking up to you, to those collectively on your same team, but also just the value in being able to be a great follower as well, which means being coachable, being a
Yeah.
great teammate, listening to whoever is in the position of
Yep.
leadership that you're in, whether that's being a disciple,
Mhm.
And so I think I don't want to talk too much, and I don't think that's what we're doing today. I think we're talking about how individually every single athlete has
Yeah.
an opportunity to be a leader.
Mhm.
But I also want to just highlight the fact of being a great follower is also
Absolutely.
something that
And
is really
great
powerful.
leaders are usually great followers as well because a great leader is reflective.
Yeah.
So when you see someone else who's setting the tone or setting a high, setting the bar high and setting an example, you're like, wow, okay, I see that. I respect that. I appreciate it. How is that transferable to me now? So I think that goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think when I think of, and I'm like reading this quote and I think of it and it's so powerful and true to me, is like true leaders are those rare individuals who derive more satisfaction
Hmm.
from the success of others than from their own achievements.
Yes.
They are the ones who are genuinely interested in developing the capabilities of those around them,
Hmm.
who lead with empathy and are obsessed with coaching and mentoring.
Yeah.
And so I just want to also but I think that is something we can do as individuals. That's
Hmm.
something as we can do but I also think it's like great leaders are some of those people who just, yeah, you talk about being obsessed with the
Yeah.
process. They're obsessed
That
with
is it.
investing in others
Yeah.
and
Well,
and seeing them grow.
absolutely. And I mean, okay, so it's football season, right? So you look at a great team. Well, I guess we'll just go with Kansas City Chiefs because we just had her on and she was talking about Patrick Mahomes, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Patrick Mahomes isn't winning Super Bowls because he's the best player on the team and he does it all. It's his success and his team's success is driven by the success of everybody else on the team as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it you have to motivate others, you have to inspire others to become better versions of themselves athletically, as a team, individually, spiritually, all the things, right? Like that's what a real leader wants is that growth in everybody. And that's why I think that, coaches really do play a
Oh,
big
they are those.
role.
I mean, when you think about a coach, their job is, and I think about even our
Hmm.
hearts, your heart as an educator, my heart with the background in
Yeah.
educating, like our mission with SPAN is
Hmm.
coaching and building up and investing in. There's so much joy that
Yeah.
we get from seeing our athletes be
Yeah.
successful
Yeah.
in the things that they endeavor to do.
Mhm.
And so I just had to call that out because I keep thinking back to the biblical principles of like Hebrews where Hebrews 13:7 says, obey your leaders and submit to them,
Mhm.
for they are keeping watch over your souls as those who will have to give an account. Or
Yeah.
even Jesus, when he says in John 8:28, I do nothing of myself, but as my Father taught me, and I speak these things. And so I think the
Yeah.
greatest leaders are the ones who they're also leading as a follower of something bigger
Absolutely.
than
Yeah,
themselves.
because it's all bigger than us, right?
Yeah.
Don't we always like everything that we do here at SPAN is really about what's the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like
What's
it's the whole person, it's the whole athlete,
and
and
as
there's a
leaders,
greater
we
purpose.
invest and grow.
Mhm.
Yeah, those around us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so good coaches are going to be people who shape athletes to become good leaders because you want to create the next generation of great coaches. You want to create the next generation of great athletes, which is good people,
Yeah.
good leaders, and good people. So, one thing that coaches, should be doing is empowering the athletes to take initiatives and to lead team activities, right? As an educational coach, I'm always supporting teachers with like, "Oh, you have a good idea. You got a crazy idea. Let's try it." Right? What do you
Yeah.
want me to do to help you? Like, let's take the risks because that's where success is on the other side of the risks and the things that scare you. So let's try those hard things, and then it creates the next group of leaders to come up
Yeah.
and to replace
That's
and
one
to
thing
grow.
I've always loved about like you truly are a coach at heart. And I
Hmm.
mean, whether it's you've coached in your background, but also like being an educational coach. I mean, you are
Yeah,
coaching the coaches who are building the young men and women in our
yeah,
schools every day. You are
I love
spending
it.
your time when you're not doing that full time job coaching young men and women on the court and on the field. And so I love that heart that I think that you have that models
Thanks.
like continually investing in
Yeah.
those around us.
I think it's easier. Well, for me, it's easier um, to put my like my effort and my work into other people than into my own self, which
But
is
that's what makes a great leader,
probably
Lindsay.
probably not the best all the time, but I do. I feel like, that's my purpose, is to help others grow. And I love that I get to come back into the athletic world
Yeah.
through our company to work with athletes, because that was my entire life, my
Well, and
entire existence for so long.
I see it already and just what a great job you've done. Like, I know you've been doing coaching, leadership coaching, and really thinking with
Mhm.
our youngest, who kind of hasn't felt like he has a spot of leadership or that
Yeah.
his actions and behaviors on the court matter, right? Like, we
Mhm.
talked a lot about body language. We should
We
do a whole
did.
podcast on this.
We could do a whole
And
podcast on that.
it's been great to see your coaching pouring into him and how he's starting to show up even as a different athlete through some of that coaching. And
I
so I
love that.
just, yeah,
Oh, that
me
makes
too.
me
I
so
love it because I'm
happy.
like, we're coaching, and these are things that are
Yeah.
lifelong lessons.
Yeah, and it's stuff that they're not gonna learn just sitting in a classroom, and they're not
Yeah.
gonna get it when they're watching a college or a pro game on TV or even a high school game. You're not tuning into that with that purpose, right? Your vision is to watch the game and to learn what the players are doing, but you're not understanding the mental work and the emotional work that goes on behind the
Yeah.
scenes, and we overlook that. We put a lot into skills and development and technique. We should be, and we do, right? As coaches and parents, but the mental and emotional side, it matters equally as much if you're going to get the same results. Because, yeah, if you can physically do all the things, but you can't handle the mental and emotional wear and tear on you, because that is a big chunk of it, then you're going to flounder. You're
Yeah.
not going to hit your dreams,
Well, and
right?
even like I've loved, I don't know if you've been watching the Little League World Series, but I have been loving watching some of these teams
Hmm.
play. And I think like even just the one, and I forget what game it was, but the little boy after they had just won, like you watch him and he sees the other players and he's
Yeah.
going over before he even goes and congratulates his team
Yep.
for the play that he made. He's picking up the second baseman on the other team.
Yep.
He's like, you see a true leader in that young athlete in
Absolutely.
that moment that
Absolutely.
comes out.
And that's exactly, like, tying into this podcast right now, because it really is. It's bigger than the sport. We always say that, but having young athletes understand that their role is much deeper than just what they're performing on the field.
Yeah.
And whether they know that they're a leader or not, inadvertently they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love it. One of the other things that coaches can be, doing to make sure that this development is being fostered is just having inclusive team cultures where every voice is heard by the athletes. Giving leadership workshops or opportunities where the athletes can experience what it's like to be in a leadership role. Um, and then things that I like this one too. So it's ways that you can develop leadership, and foster that for your athlete, not just at practice, but with our help at home too,
Yeah.
right? And that's just effective communication.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times you have parents talking at you, you have coaches talking at you, but it's not always
A
a
dialogue.
two-way street or
Yeah.
conversation that's an effective dialogue. And so giving our kids time to communicate with us, whether that's them talking and we're just listening, or whether we're asking them to listen and give feedback or be constructive, that helps them grow their voice.
Well, and also, like, I think this is such a different, for those that are listening, probably our generation, it's such
Hmm.
a different way of
Yeah.
thinking than how our parents grew up.
Yeah.
And it's like they did kind of talk at us because it was almost like, well, you're children, you don't have a voice. And I think we're very much a generation that's going like, okay, if we want to teach our children to have empathy and to be
Hmm.
respectful, that starts with having respect for them. That starts with having empathy.
Yep.
That starts with realizing they're little tiny humans, that
Hmm.
they're not, we can't act a certain way to them and then expect them to have respect for others.
Absolutely.
That starts with a dialogue with them. And so I think it's very different than
Yeah.
probably
Very
our parents
different.
thought about as we were growing up.
Yeah, very different. I mean, we talked about on one of our podcasts with intrinsic motivation, just athletes having the autonomy to make decisions when it comes to their training and what it is they want to do. You're going to get a lot more from your athlete when they have autonomy in their performance. And that also includes their headspace, their thoughts, their feelings, where they're at. So giving them that opportunity. Um,
So what can we do as parents as we think about how do you foster in your kiddo. Maybe you've got a really quiet kid, or
Mhm.
maybe you've got a kid who's really loud and leadership for them maybe needs to look a little bit more inclusive and humble. Like, what would be your ways that you would encourage parents to be thinking about, or athletes who are listening, um, how they can show up as a leader on and off the field?
Well, I think the biggest thing is communication, right? So if you're a very vocal leader, sometimes it's learning how to dial that back, right? I used to tell my students in my class, like, look, God gave you two ears and one mouth, so you should be listening more than you're talking. And like, I tell that to my kids, but also I have to sometimes say it for myself.
Oh,
Like, I have to shut up and listen to what my kids are telling me too. My students, teachers that I'm working with, and then my own kids and my teams when I was coaching, like, I need to stop talking. I need to hear what are your thoughts?
yeah. This is a
Um,
big one for me because I'll
it's
tell you,
big.
even I work with an amazing group of dietitians
Yeah.
at HEB, and I have the privilege to lead this like phenomenal group. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes as a leader, it's going exactly what you said. I have two ears and one mouth. I really should
Yeah.
listen because they are in a brilliant group of
Yes.
individuals. How can I? So, even if God did give you natural leadership
Mhm.
and you have this naturally strong voice, how do you step back from that and go, how do I allow others to have a
Yeah.
voice?
Because leadership doesn't mean you're the smartest person in the room. It just means that other people tend to follow what you're saying more or to what you're doing because you're inspiring, you're engaging, but you're also listening. Like you
Yeah.
have to
Oh,
be
I'm
a
aware I'm not the
good
smartest person
I
in these
know,
rooms.
no, but a lot of times like kids will think that like, oh, I'm better than you at this, so I'm going to tell you. But no, that's not it. Like if you're going to be a good leader, you have to be an even better listener
Yeah.
and you have to hear what everyone's saying. So, athletes that are leaders, I would say, well, you need to be listening to your teammates. Are you hearing the conversation? What do your peers think about this, Like have the conversation. So definitely communication. I also think leaders on a team really need to have good communication with their coaches.
Yeah.
That's so
Well, and
important.
leading by example. This is one of
Mhm.
the ones that you always talk about. So, like,
Yeah.
communication's a big piece.
Yep.
But when you say have great relationships with your coaches, that means being coachable, right? So
Oh,
you
absolutely. Yeah.
understand that role of
Yeah.
leadership. You communicate effectively. You model that
Mhm.
for your team. And so,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about like just leading by example as a really important. And also, this goes
Yeah.
for parents because
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't expect our kids to do what we're not modeling.
No, no. So leading by example. So if you're an athlete and your coach is like, "Well, I need you to be a leader." Okay, well then you're going to have to be willing to take some risks as a leader. Like you're going to have to go out there and you have to like know if you miss that shot, if you strike out, if you miss that goal, you're not going to throw your helmet, you're not going to throw your gear in the dugout, you're not going to throw it on the bench, you're not going to come out cussing or crying. You're going to you're going to be like, you know what? It happens. And you're going to bounce back from that. And you're going to carry yourself again, body language,
Yeah.
your face, like what is it saying? Or are you giving away all your emotions by
Well,
your
and
body language? Like you have to set an example of like, I'm going to take risks and it's okay because that's what good athletes do.
And how you fail through that as a leader
Yes.
matters. People are watching you. So,
Yes.
like, when you're a great player on your team and you
Hmm.
make a mistake, are you truly embodying, I'm going to fail forward, I'm going to fail through this, I'm going to
Absolutely.
get back together and I'm going to get the next one? Or are you getting so down that
Yeah.
you're basically modeling as a leader for
Yep.
your fellow teammates that failure should look like frustration and anger
Right.
and
Or that failure is bad.
yeah,
Like, you're setting the completely wrong tone for what it should be. So, yeah, I think, how you handle situations is important for modeling. Also, what do you look like at practice?
yeah, because that's the
Practice should be
time.
your time when you're going harder than you do in games.
Yeah.
Like, go hard in a game, but you should have worked your butt off so much and gone so hard in practice that the game feels like it's a little bit easier,
Yeah.
you know?
Which is always like that. I think it's Kobe Bryant or someone who always said, like, I never was afraid of the games because
Mhm.
I went all out in
Yeah.
practices. So the games were just a chance for me to take
That
where I
was
went all out.
yes, and that's what like, the top athletes do that. I would be dead at the end of a practice, especially with my AAU team. My coach, oh, he knew how to push me, which was to, like if I made a mistake, he jumped down my throat about it. Not because it was gonna make me, like, have a fit or whatever. It was like, "Oh, okay, what did I do? Evaluate it, fix it, and go to work." But I always left practice more exhausted and physically drained than on a game.
Yeah.
Because it's just you had to go give 100%. You have to be locked in, and I think athletes that are leaders, they embody that, they model that.
Yeah. So I love this. So communication, feedback, leading by
Mhm.
example, empowering others. So,
Yeah.
and this is again what makes a great leader. When I think about you, Lindsay, is like how much you pour into and empower others, how much you celebrate others' success. Um, just this idea of pursuing a collective goal on a
Yeah.
team, it looks like, unless you're playing an individual sport. And even then, in an
Right.
individual sport, we talk about this in the book, you still had your parents who drove you there or paid for you to be there, or your
Yeah.
coach who coached
Yeah.
you to get there.
And if even if you play tennis, and that's a very individual sport, unless you're on doubles, right? You still have other kids at your high school who are playing tennis. So cheer them on. When
Yeah.
we had Jess on our podcast, I played basketball with her in college, and she's a coach. Um, she brought up a good point. College coaches need to see you sit on the bench and need to see how you celebrate your teammates,
Oh, yeah. They want to
because
see
you
that.
have to be the best teammate. They rather take someone who's a, you know, average to strong player, but who's the best teammate, who has the best attitude, but is very coachable, than someone who's just a superstar who doesn't care about anybody else around them.
Well, and even Jess said that. I think one of the interesting things to listen to Jess is like she was a great player, but
Yeah,
she
she was.
admitted she was like, I was kind of a toxic player for a while
Yeah, she
because
was a rough teammate before
I,
she got to us at Wingate. Yeah,
yeah, she's
yeah.
like, I wasn't a good teammate. It was all
Mm-mm.
about me. I was super selfish. And like,
Yep.
I think those are things that the world teaches us we need to be like, oh, it's all
Right.
about me. It needs to be like, I'm the
Right.
superstar, I'm the D1 athlete.
Absolutely.
But I think what a lot of times athletes and even parents are missing is like they're looking for who you are as a person
Yes.
too.
Yes. And I've seen a lot of parents and stuff on social media, scrolling the scrolling the stories,
Scrolling the
scrolling
talks.
the TikToks, and they'll be like, "Oh, my kids, it's always a competition. Everything's a competition, and if they're going to train to be the best, they need to be the best, and blah blah." And I'm like, "But that's so toxic. Like
For team sports
it's not always
especially.
a competition.
Yeah.
Your biggest competition is yourself. It's nobody on your team. You're playing the same position as someone. You're both first baseman or you're both shooting guard. You should want your teammate to be so successful that you don't even have that position anymore, because that's building your team,
Yeah.
right?
And then you have to work
And
harder.
then
You
go to
have someone
work.
who's like pushing
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
You're not going to get better when you're not surrounded by people that are also motivated to become better and to push you as well.
Yeah.
You will not
Iron
grow.
sharpens iron. We talk about
Yeah.
this a lot. And, Clay and I had this conversation just starting a new team
Mhm.
recently where it's like, yeah, you want three catchers deep.
Mhm.
You want four first
Mhm.
basemen. You want everybody
You
to be
want
good at
10 pictures.
everything because you're like,
Yeah.
this is actually where you all get better. And like you
Yes,
lift each other
absolutely.
up and you grow. So I love that.
Absolutely.
So empowering others. I also think adapting and being good learners. Like I want to talk about this because I think great leaders, um, they are people who are able to reflect on experiences, good or bad,
Absolutely.
and learn from their mistakes, but also be
Mhm.
really open to feedback, whether that's
Yeah.
feedback from teammates, feedback from their coach, like
Yeah.
feedback. I think this is a big one.
This is a big one. So, in order to be a good leader, an effective leader, as an athlete, you do have to be reflective, because you're constantly evaluating yourself. Like, how did I handle that situation? Not just play, not just like, the skill. You're not always just breaking down the skill. Did I get that? Did I not pass the ball to my teammate who was open because I was more worried about taking the shot? Should I have considered like a different play in this position? Did I involve all my team before the game and like hyping up? It's all of that. And good athletes who are leaders are constantly reflecting on that, evaluating how they performed and how they handled situations, and then they're making changes. I think that what's the phrase? Oh my God, my brain. The phrase when it's like, you can fool me once, shame on me, or you can make the mistake one time, and if you don't change it, whatever. But if you continuously make the mistakes, then it's a pattern.
Yeah. It's not a mistake at that point.
Yeah, it's like you're not even reflecting to make a change, to make it better, make the
Yeah.
situation better. And leaders are constantly doing that. So yes, there are different types of leaders on teams. There are quiet leaders, there are strong leaders in certain areas, but team leaders that want to go on to, you know, play at a very high level, they're also evaluating, like, from start to finish, from game day when they woke up to they go to bed at
What could
night.
they learn?
What could they learn from that?
Yeah.
What are
How
the
do they adapt?
takeaways?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, and then I think these are all good ones. And then the
Mm-hmm.
last one I feel like you talk about a lot in the book is really just decision making and
Mm-hmm.
initiative. Like,
Yeah.
and I want to call before I say this, like this again goes back to we're talking about leadership,
Mm-hmm.
and you can be a great leader on a team, but also every single person has the ability to lead. And
Absolutely.
that starts with something as simple as the decisions you make every day, whether that's the
Mm-hmm.
food you put in your body,
Yeah.
whether that's if you choose to put in the extra reps or
Mm-hmm.
not. It's whether you choose to take the initiative when your coach says it's time to go pick up balls or it's
Yeah.
time to go. Are you hustling to do that? Or are you letting the
Right.
rest of your
Right.
teammates do that
Right. And
first?
actually, that was something that goes with body language too. Like every every time you're practicing or every time you're around your team or your coach or by yourself, are you giving the full effort? Because if you're just doing it to go through the motions, but you're not really like seeing the opportunity in that and pumped up for for the chance to be practicing, then you're not going to develop as an athlete. Like the mindset needs to be like every opportunity, I'm going all in.
And this is a big one for me because this is one that extends far beyond sports.
Hmm.
So, like,
Everything.
being able to take initiative, being able to really critically make decisions
Hmm.
and be intentional with your decisions. Like, I'm going to choose to do this instead of doing this. I'm
And
going to
do
choose
it.
to do
Yeah.
those things. Like, we always say, your choices become your habits, your habit becomes your character, and your
Yes.
character becomes your destiny.
Yes.
And so, I think just the power of individual initiative,
Yep.
individual decision making, because these things stack on each other. And, 80 years later, you have a life that was lived off of
Yeah.
lots of little choices.
Lots of little choices that add up to a lot of missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think
Or
again, that's
potential.
the
Yeah.
potential. And it's that motivation. It's the intrinsic motivation. And then knowing like, I made a decision, I'm going to go all in on it. It might be scary, right? Like a kid who hasn't ever practiced before on their own in the garage, going out and practicing or working out by themselves, that can be scary the first time.
Yeah.
Or deciding that you're going to try out for a team because you've, always wanted to go try out for a team, like go all in because you don't want to have regrets down the road. So, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the long the long bit about athletes as leaders, I guess. Just there's so much information. There's so much that comes with being an athlete that I don't think gets discussed quite enough. It's
Yeah.
not just your performance on the court or the field. It's
Well, and
a journey.
I want to leave us with this. And it's a story from this year's Little League World Series. And
Mhm.
I look at this little boy, and I don't know if any of you saw this clip, and we'll post it. But the little boy's name, he was from Team Mexico, Gregorio Madrid, 12-year-old player. They were in the thick of it in one of the final
Mhm.
games, and he hit two crucial home runs to help secure the victory for his team. And then he gives this interview, and just, I don't know, did you see this interview? Do you know what I'm talking
No, I
about?
didn't see this one.
It is the epitome of leadership for me. Is he literally says, "We always had faith in God. When it was my turn to bat, before I hit the home run, I was praying. My team was praying. And when I hit, everyone told me they were praying for me to hit that home run." And then he talks about how he goes back to the dugout and his teammate is up to hit a
Yeah.
ball. And he's like, "And I'm praying over my teammate and I'm
Yeah.
hoping that he's doing great." And it was the epitome of truly being this leader who's not only invested in just their own success,
Yeah.
but is
Their team.
invested in the success of their
Yeah.
teammates, is invested in the collective. And like his interview is great, obviously, because it's just this awesome faith-based
Yeah.
interview, but it's just the epitome of a 12-year-old leader for his team.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, we'll have to post that clip too.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
awesome.
Well, I'm going to end with this. Leadership is a journey for every athlete. So take the initiative, recognize your influence, and use your platform on and off the field to make a difference because you are serving others in a much greater and bigger purpose than just your experience as an athlete.
Yeah, no matter if you're team captain or not, you've got an
Absolutely.
opportunity as a young athlete to be a leader.
Absolutely. Well, stay tuned for future podcasts where we will bring on exciting guests in the sports world, highlight spotlight coaches, athletic directors, former and current collegiate and professional sports players, sports dietitians, sports psychologists, and more.
What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or fitness enthusiast looking to gain that mental edge and optimize your health, this podcast is for you.
Don't forget to join the SPAN community and get more exclusive content by following us on all of our social media channels, including TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X at @SPAN_athletics.
Until next time, stay faithful, stay fueled, and remain focused on your goals.